Assalamu alaikum everyone, and hello again to our second part of the lesson about assimilation. Assimilation, we said, it's an aspect of connected speech, which means when a sound is influenced by neighboring sound, right, until the two sounds become similar or the same, right, similar or the same, especially in three elements or features, which are the place of articulation. They become the same in the place of articulation, the same also in the manner of articulation, and also the same in the quality of voicing. Quality of voicing, as one is influenced by the other, whether before it or after it. And even sometimes they create, we said, and melt a new sound, clear, like sha and the cha. Good. Today we'll try to explore, okay, the different cases or aspects of similarities at the level of assimilation, when a sound is influenced by another sound. So we said here we have three cases of influence. First case is assimilation in the place of articulation. In the place of articulation. Here we refer to the change in the place of articulation of a sound, usually a consonant as usual, clear, when it is influenced by another sound. And here usually we speak about, or we mean, regressive assimilation. It means when a sound is influenced by the sound which follows it, which comes after it. Clear? Comes after it. Right. So, in the assimilation that concerns the place of articulation, we have sound is influenced by another sound and it becomes similar to it. Clear? And almost the same like it, this following sound, okay, in the place of articulation. Right. Here we have also many cases, and most of them represent regressive assimilation. The first case is when alveolar consonants, I mean ta, da, and na, are changed and take the same place of articulation of the following sound. Clear? So here, ta, da, and na, when they are influenced by the following sound, they become similar to it in the place of articulation. So we start with these alveolar consonants, ta, da, na. Usually when they are followed by velar or bilabial sounds, clear, they change to be similar to these bilabial and these velar sounds. First, we have the sound, the alveolar ta. Ta is alveolar, right? But it changes to the sound pa, right? Sound pa bilabial when it is followed, when it is influenced by bilabial consonants, which are pa, ba, and ma. Right. Example, I have that boy. That boy. So here, when ta is followed by ba and influenced by it, the ta becomes pa. Also, when the ta is followed and influenced by ma, it becomes pa, like in mixed marriage. Clear? Right, here also the ta is influenced by ma and it becomes pa. Right. Also, when the ta is followed by the bilabial also ba, here also it changes to pa. Why? Because it is influenced, okay, in the place of articulation by this bilabial pa, like in put back. So here the ta is pronounced pa. Also, the ta changes, right, to the velar sound ka, right, can change to the velar sound ka when it is followed and when it is influenced by the velar sounds and consonants ka or ga. Like in that girl, so ta turns into ka. Why? Because it is followed and influenced by ga. Also for shortcut, here also the ta is followed, influenced by the vela sound ka. That's why it becomes in itself ka, vela ka. Right. Also for the other alveolar consonant, which is da also is changed or changes to ba when it is influenced and followed by bilabial consonants, always ba, and ma. For example, I have ba pain. So here ba pain, I have the da turns into ba. Why? So here in this case, okay, the da turns into ba when it is followed always by those bilabial sounds. In the first example, as I said here before, turns into ba because it's followed and influenced by the bilabial pa. Also, red back, da here also in red is influenced and is pronounced, okay, ba, the same as the influencing and the following sound bilabial ba. Also, old man, also here I have da is pronounced and is influenced ba as it is influenced by the bilabial ma. Okay, bilabial ma after it. Clear? Another also influence which happens at the level of the regressive assimilation concerning always the alveolar da, when the da is changed to the vela ga before the vela sounds ka or ga. So da also can change to ga, right? Why? Because it is influenced by the following regressive sound, which is either ka or ga. Like in cold cream. So da here in cold becomes ga because it's followed and influenced by the vela ka. Also, slide guitar, here also da becomes ga. Why? Because it is followed by the vela ga. Right? Good. Also, another case for the change of the place of articulation of a sound after being influenced by the following sound. Here, always for the alveolar sounds and consonants, I have here na, sound na, which changes into ma. When na is followed by bilabial consonants, ba, ma. Right. So pronounce here the na, pronounce it ma, like in Iron Man. So na here in iron is pronounced na. Why? Because it is followed and influenced by ma. Green belt. Here also the na is changed to ma. Why? Because it's followed and influenced by ba, bilabial ba. Also, American plan. So here na at the end of American becomes ma. Why? It's followed because it's followed and it's influenced by the bilabial pa. Clear? After it. Right. Good. Also, I have another change for the sound na, consonant na, to the sound nya. Sound nya. When this na is followed and influenced by the vela sounds ka or ga. Like in what we have in tinkan. So here, na changes to nya. Why? Because it's followed and influenced by the following sound ka. Right. Also, Golden Gate. So here the na is pronounced nya. Why? Because it's followed and influenced by the vowel sound ga. Right. So these are the changes which concern the alveolar consonants with regard to their place of articulation after being influenced by what comes after them. Okay, the bilabial or the velar sounds which come after them. They became, as you see here, become similar, right, and sometimes even the same. Good. Another also case of assimilation, regressive always, within consonants and also concerning the place of articulation happens to the sound sa, which changes to sha. When the sa, right, is followed by sha, sound sha, or ya plus rounded vowel. It means we find, for example, words ends in sa, right, and the next word starts with sha or ya plus round vowel like o or u. So here the sa is pronounced sha, like in dress shop, dress shop. So the sa here is pronounced in dress sha. Why? Because it's followed and influenced by what? By the sound sha plus the vowel o, rounded vowel. Also in this year, here also the sa in this is pronounced sha. Why? Because it's followed by the consonant or the sound semi-vowel, okay, sound ya, right, and it's followed also by ya, okay, ya, round vowel ya, alright, right, good. Also another influence or aspect of assimilation for the place of articulation happens for the sound za, which changes to ja when it is followed by the consonant or the sound sha or ya, right, followed by a rounded vowel. Clear? It means we find word ending in za, and after it word which starts with sha or ya plus a rounded vowel, like for example o or o, right? Like for example we have here this sheep, these sheep becomes these sheep, these sheep. Why? Because sa here turns into ja, because it's followed by sha plus rounded vowel. Clear? Also ajr, like in ajr like. Here also za is pronounced ja, ajr. Clear? Because it's followed by sound ya. Clear? Also we have another aspect of assimilation, another change, which concerns the consonant tha, th usually, tha, which changes to sa. It becomes sa when it is followed by the sound sa. Clear? For example, at the end of a word we find tha, and in the next word we find the initial consonant is sa. So here the tha becomes sa too, like in both sides, tha is pronounced sa. Why? Because it's followed and influenced by the sound sa after it. Also,
north-south. North-south becomes north-south.
At the end of north becomes sa. Why? Because it's followed and influenced by the sound sa after it. Good. So this is for place of articulation. Second, right, aspect of similarity and of influence of a sound, right, by another sound concerns assimilation in the manner of articulation, way of articulation. Here, of course, we mean when a sound changes its manner of articulation to become similar in manner, in way of articulation, clear, to the neighboring sound which influenced it, okay, which influenced it. Whether before it or after it, of course. Clear? Before or after it. Right. Good. So, here, for example, I have the example, famous example of get some of that soap. Get some of that soap. So here, what do we have? We have this common pronunciation, but if I want to apply assimilation to this sentence, I pronounce it as follows. Get some of the soap. Get some of the soap. So in get some, T turns into sa. Clear? In of, the va turns into the. Right. into the. Right. In that, the ta turns into sa. Clear? It's kind of here, as you see, assimilation, and here also it's regressive. It is regressive. Right. Also we have get them. So ta becomes it changes to the, right, after being influenced by the after it. And also read them, the da also changes to the. Why? It is followed and influenced, right, by the after it. That's why it changes here, the da and the ta both, right, their manner of articulation to be similar to the following, right, sound after them. Clear? These cases. Right. Good. Now the third aspect of assimilation also and of similarity after the influence of sound on the other is in what we call assimilation of voice. Assimilation of voice. Here when a sound follows the quality of voicing, means voiced or voiceless, of another neighboring sound. When it's influenced by another sound and acquires its quality of voicing. If that sound, okay, is voiced, this one is influenced by it and becomes voiced like it. If that sound is voiceless, now this sound also, it is influenced by it and it becomes voiceless. Clear? And for this assimilation of voice, usually we have the case of progressive assimilation. Means usually sound is influenced by what comes before it. A sound is influenced by the sound before it, not after it. Okay, usually. Here also we have certain cases for assimilation of voice. Number one, mainly we have a case of final S of plural nouns and also of present simple tense. So final S, as you know, is pronounced sa or za is or is. Right. Now sa or final S is pronounced sa. It is voiceless when it is preceded by what? Voiceless consonants. Right. Like ta, for example. Right. And also it is sa becomes za voiced when it is preceded and influenced by what? By voiced consonants. Clear? Like ba. Right. Ba. Example, labs, laboratories, labs. Clear? So sa here becomes, normally it's voiceless, but it becomes voiced. Why? Because it's influenced by ba before it, which is voiced. And also the sa changes to is when it is preceded by the sibilants sha, ja, also sa, za, and the cha, ja. So these also, right, when they come before the final S, they influence it, right, and this final S follows and becomes similar to them in terms of quality of voicing. The quality of voicing. Also, second case for progressive assimilation within assimilation of voice is about the final ed of the past. Right, of the past or past participle. As you know, final ed can be pronounced ta, da, right, or id, right, id or id sometimes. So it is pronounced ta. It means it becomes voiceless when it is preceded or and influenced by voiceless, right, consonants like sa, like for example mist, right. And also it becomes or it remains voiced when it is preceded by voiced consonants, right, like for example ba in abd, abd ba, voiced. So da here also remains voiced. Also, it is pronounced id or id sometimes when it is followed by, when it is preceded. Okay, when this final ed is preceded by ta or da. So here the final ed takes the same quality of voicing to these ta and right or da. Right. Good. Also, third case for progressive assimilation within assimilation of voice concerns the reduced form of to be with third person pronoun. Clear? Example, I have his. So here the za for he is, because it is preceded by what? By voiced. Clear? Becomes here to be is voiced because it's preceded by a voiced sound. Clear? Right. I mean e, vowel e. Also, here I have also it's. So here it's the sa represents the reduced form of to be in the present, and sa here is voiceless. Why? Because it is preceded by ta, which is voiceless. Right. Good. Also, fourth case concerns the possessive s. Right. Possessive s here also it follows the voicing quality of the sound preceding it and influenced by it. Example, I have Jack's house. Jack's. So here the s of possession right here is pronounced sa, and it is voiceless because it is preceded by ka, which is voiceless. Clear? Or for example, John's house. Here the sa becomes za. Why? Because it is preceded by na, which is voiced. So here za also becomes is voiced. Also, example, crisis. Chris's or Chris. No, Chris's house. Chris's house. Here also we have possessive case. So here the sa is. Alright, why? Because it is influenced by the sound before it and takes the same quality of voicing like it. Clear? Like it in is. On becoming is. Good. Also, I have another case for regressive now. Right. All the previous cases were progressive. It means the sound is influenced by what comes before it. Now we have a case one in voicing. Sound is influenced by the following sound after it. For example, I have expression of course. Of course. So in of, the v becomes fa, changes to fa. Why? Because here it's followed by voiceless. Okay, so v, which was voiced, becomes voiceless. Fa, the voiceless fa. Why? Because after it, okay, we have the voiceless ka, which influenced this va to become fa. Also, have to becomes have to. So have normally ends with va, which is voiced, but when it's followed by voiceless, clear? Right. By voiceless here, ta, so the va turns or changes to fa, and it becomes voiceless like the influencing sound after it, ta. Alright. Ta, voiceless, so va becomes fa, the voiceless fa. Right. Good. Now, finally, we have also the influence of voicing at the level of the sound the. When it is placed in nasal environment. Clear? Nasal environment. Example, I have the example of in that case. So here I have the is in the word that is influenced by what? What comes before it? Here also it is progressive here. Belongs to progressive, this one. Clear? So here, in that case, it's pronounced in that case. So the becomes na. Clear? Becomes na and is influenced strongly to become the same like the sound na which influenced it and comes before it. Also, for example, I have on that day becomes on a day. Clear? On a day. So here also in that day, the sound da is influenced by what comes before it, sound before it, which is na, nasal na, and it becomes na. Clear? Right? And it becomes like it also. Right. Also, I have example the case of expression of also who is that? Who is that? So here, that also in that is preceded by za, clear, and is influenced strongly by this za to become like it, clear, like it, and it turns into za, and it becomes who's that? Who is that? Clear, who is that? Right, so these are simply different cases for assimilation of voice, right? When a sound influences another sound, okay, and they become similar in three aspects. I mean, assimilation in place of articulation, in manner of articulation, and also in the quality of voicing. Whether in regressive case, when a sound after it influenced it, or progressive case, when a sound before it influenced it. Right. So, thank you so much for attention, and I hope that I could explain and simplify this detailed and a bit complicated lesson with all its details in a simple and simplified way, just for you. Thank you so much.